In Sumerian mythology, the process of creating man is described in great detail. According to sources, at the very beginning the world was ruled by the gods. In the modern interpretation, these are representatives of extraterrestrial civilizations that were similar to people. They came from heaven to earth, which required a lot of effort to develop. God Enki suggested creating a man in order to shift the burden of labor onto him. One of the gods was sacrificed. His genetic material was immediately taken and, as stated in an ancient Sumerian source, his flesh and blood were mixed with clay. From the resulting material, the first man was created, similar to the gods, but who was an ordinary slave for them. Therefore, the expression, work of God, has a completely literal meaning. The Bible rightly denies the fact of the creation of a slave man, but well describes the fact of the creation of a man, the Son of God, which is much more realistic. But the most interesting thing about this is not so much the fact of God's creation of man, but the fact that man was not created for life in earthly conditions. This is evidenced by his physiological inability to adapt. Experts note a considerable number of such inconsistencies. Why, for example, did evolution give humans constantly growing hair on their heads? To survive? But this is absurd. Imagine a child of an ancient man, for whom hair prevents him from looking, moving, or running away without scissors. It is simply impossible to explain the constant and fairly rapid growth of hair on the head by evolution. After all, if some anomaly occurs, as for example with hairless chimpanzees, then the hair is completely lost on the entire body. And the period of helplessness of a newborn human is abnormally long compared to the same animal world. Back pain and other disorders of the musculoskeletal system are associated with poor adaptation of the skeleton to current planetary conditions. A person breaks limbs after falling from his own height, which is not observed in animals. A person can exist without clothes only in an extremely narrow range of temperatures, 20 to 26 degrees. The thermoregulation system is based on evaporation, that is, for people. Clothing is required, and full hair is not implied. By the way, this is also an unsolved question for evolutionists. Where did the solid hair go? Magnetic storms have a detrimental effect on humans. Schumann resonance frequencies, or rather changes in their parameters too. Breathing during long runs becomes so frequent that the body does not have enough oxygen for all metabolic processes. The biological body is designed for a completely different ratio of gases in the atmosphere, as well as for a different sleep and rest regime. The so-called circadian rhythm of a person is not equal to a day. People who are in complete isolation for a long time, speleologists for example, switch to a longer daily rhythm, 26 to 32 hours. Moreover, a case of a 56-hour circadian rhythm is known. This mysterious feature gives reason to believe that the duration of a day of 24 hours is not at all a native time duration for the human body. Well, let's add to this such a simple fact. Who of you, dear viewers, would not like to look at the starry sky for a long time on clear, dark nights, and at the same time would not feel some inexplicable melancholy and desire to go to the little stars? Probably everyone is familiar with this strange feeling, similar to longing for the parental home. Perhaps this is our genetic memory of that distant planet, from where our distant ancestors arrived on Earth thousands and thousands of years ago, speaking in us. It is very likely that this is exactly so.